Knowledge alone will not change your life. Actually taking action on that information, that's what will make a big difference. That will change your life. Today we're breaking down how to move from just knowing what to do to actually doing it and seeing results. The gap between learning and winning is action. A lot of people stay stuck just acquiring knowledge, but not actually taking a step forward with consistent action. We'll show you how to stop overthinking, how to beat it, and to turn your financial theory into financial victory. Let's go ahead and get to it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Success Spectrum podcast. I'm your host, Kadeem McLean, and I want to start off with a story. I drive a standard vehicle, stick shift, manual, whatever people want to call it nowadays. When I first learned, before I even stepped into a vehicle, I looked at all the theory. How does the engine work? How does the transmission work? What's the big difference between standard and automatic or manual and automatic? And when do you shift? How do you know? RPMs, and you just feel the car, and what's the clutch point, and the whole 9 yards. So I looked into all of it before I actually stepped behind a vehicle. However, before I stepped behind a vehicle, even though I had all the knowledge of how to drive standard, would you say I knew how to drive it or I could drive it? Probably not, because I never actually stepped behind a vehicle and drove it, right? Actually driving standard is different from knowing the theory of how to drive it. So yes, I knew the theory, but if I never actually driven it, I couldn't say, yeah, I know how to drive it, because I didn't. Did I figure it out when I got behind the wheel? Yes. But just knowing doesn't mean I can actually do it. There's a big difference between the theory and the action behind it. And that's what we're breaking down for you today. I find a lot of us get into this thing of information overload, because that's real. We get all the information. We consistently just taking all the information, from books, from podcasts, courses, getting all these certificates and but we're not actually taking action and utilizing the information we come across. A lot of you probably listening to this right now. If you listened to the last episode, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming back. What did you apply from the last episode that you listened to, that you heard, that stuck out to you? If you didn't apply anything, the question is, why not? If none of it applied to you, I'm not talking to you in this particular question, but if something stuck out to you, you're in debt. Why did you not apply anything from that last episode? Why have you gotten the book or not gotten the book? Why, if you did get it, why did you get it and not apply something from it? So again, I'm not shaming you or anything along those lines. That's not what I would never want to do that, but it's just a question to ask yourself, and to emphasize the importance of knowing versus action, the difference. You can know how to do everything in the world, but the person who applies nothing doesn't really know anything. What's the point of knowing all this stuff but doing nothing with it? So again, that information overload thing is, sometimes we can just get so much information where we now don't know what step to take, because we've taken information from this person, from that source, and multiple sources and people, but now we don't know what action to take, what to do. So information overload, it is real. How can we avoid it? Well, I'm going to give you a bit of a framework for that, but we want to make sure we take in the information, but don't overdo it with taking in the information, because there's a point at which you pretty much know you have enough information to take action. You don't need to know the whole staircase before you take the first step. You don't need to know, again, their journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Start. That's the main thing. Start. Once you start, because you're not going to see step 100 if there's 100 steps before you get to step 99, maybe 98. You got to take those first 98, 99 steps to get up to step 100 so that you can see step 100, right? You're not going to see it otherwise. One of the reasons we might get stuck in this over-analysis, analyzation, or this theory is because theory is safe. It feels safe, but taking action, that's risky. I don't know. Taking action, I don't know about that. That sounds a little risky. I can say I know it, which is safe. To say that I'm aiming to do it or trying to do it or I'm doing it, it's a lot of risk involved with that. I could quote unquote fail. It may not work out, and it may not work out the way I want it to work out. So taking action seems risky. Having the theory, knowing what to do, feels safe, right? I could continue working my job and feel safe. No shade, no shame. But again, theory feels safe. Action feels risky. So of course, we're going to want to continue to get all the information we can with information overload and stay stuck where we are. Here's the mistake we make. We think thinking and knowing is the same as making progress. So we think that we're taking in all this information, we're doing great, we're doing amazing. It's good to get the information, you need it. But taking in the information and not doing anything with it, it's pointless. It is absolutely pointless. You're wasting valuable time. What are you doing taking in all the information and taking action on nothing? All the books you've read in the last 5 years, you mean you've done nothing from those books? The podcasts you listen to weekly, you mean you applied none of it? You're just consuming at this point. You're not producing anything. We want to be producers. We want to take in information and apply at least one principle from maybe the episode we watch or the book we reread. Apply one principle from the courses you attend, the events you've attended. Because if you just applied one thing from each of those, your life would probably look quite different than what it looks like right now. So let me give you a quick action blueprint on how to get over this thing and actually take action. Because one of the things I mentioned already, but step one is to focus on one thing. You don't need to do all 10 steps. You don't need to do all 20 steps or 15 or however many steps there are in this thing, but just take one. Start with one. Start with one, because again, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Every little bit adds up, right? In Jamaica, you say one cocoa, full basket, right? There's a few other sayings, but you keep adding, let's say, cocos to this basket, right? Coconuts. Eventually, you'll have 100 coconuts, but you started with one. You keep adding one at a time. Every little action adds up. Every little step you take is going to get you closer to that goal. So start moving. Start taking those steps. As an example, if you've learned about budgeting and investing, which hopefully you have because you've been listening to me or whoever you've been listening to, what are we doing with not starting, thinking we have to have it all planned out and know step 1,000 before we even take step one and do a budget? Do a budget first. What are you waiting for? Get that budget complete. See what's coming in, see what's going out, see your discretionary income, what you have left over, and where that needs to be placed so that you can reach that abundance you're looking for. So again, step one. If you're not on step 5, don't worry about step 6. If you're not on step 10, don't worry about step 11. You're on step 0 right now. Start with step 1. Simple. Step 2 would be to set up micro goals. And this will help you to build momentum and get those micro wins or those small wins in, right? So break those, I always like to say, break it down to the ridiculous. So if your aim is to, save $12,000 this year, really you can say, okay, my goal is to save $1,000 every month. Break that down into $250 every week. Break that down into how much every day, right? And then so your goal for that day, your micro goal could be, okay, I need to save X amount for this day, whatever that math is. I need to save X amount for this day. That's a micro goal. But it still helps you to take that step and stay on track towards saving that $12,000 for the year. Break it down to the ridiculous. Another example would be, instead of, the goal of becoming debt free, yeah, you can have that goal, but let's break it down into smaller goals as well, so we know we're on track and we can still celebrate something a little bit. And again, not celebrate to go splurge, but, go buy yourself, let's say, I don't know, go buy yourself a nice little meal, right? Something small. Go. It doesn't even have to be by yourself, but go treat yourself to something. If you know that you like to go for walks, you should probably be doing that anyway, but you like to go for walks at a specific location, but you don't want to spend the gas to go there. Spend the gas to go there that weekend, right? Micro goals. If you did it for a week consistently or 2 weeks consistently or a month consistently, yeah, reward yourself some way, somehow. Otherwise, what are you doing all of this for? So if let's say another example, if your goal is to become debt free, yes, focus on becoming debt free, of course. But again, these micro goals, celebrate paying your first $50 this month on that debt. Don't only celebrate becoming debt free, let's say. Of course, it might be a little bit of a bigger celebration, but reward yourself some way, somehow. Taking the night off, let's say, because maybe you're working nights, take a night off. Or rather, for building your business, whatever the case might be. I don't know what it is for you, but if you normally make coffee at home, go buy a coffee, right? Because you like that. Starbucks is up there, but maybe you like that Tim Hortons coffee. You go get yourself a little Tim Hortons coffee. Fine, right? Whatever reward system you want to come up with. And again, it doesn't have to be spending on anything. There's other ways you can go about this, but do that thing to keep you on track and keep your motivation up. Because sometimes we might get demotivated because, oh my gosh, it's another 10 months out. I'm only 2 months in, and it's a struggle. Okay, great. Pump yourself up by doing some little thing to bring your motivation back up. So celebrate paying that $50, let's say, the first $50 if your goal is to become debt free. And number three, step three here would be to take action, or rather track action, not just learning, right? So you don't want to celebrate, oh my gosh, I learned something new. This is great. This is amazing. Great. Yay. But you did maybe learn something new. Congrats. But what action are you taking with that knowledge? You learn something new every day, hopefully, multiple things in a day. But what are you doing with that information? Because if you're just sitting on it, it's not helping you. It was a waste of time, a waste of money, a waste of resources. Utilize that information, right? So celebrate the action and track the action, not just the learning. Yes, you want to learn. Yes, it's good to, maybe feel happy or whatever it is about learning, but until you take action on that, it means nothing, right? You go get a degree. Great, you got a degree. Are you taking action on that degree in any way? Are you using it in any way? You probably are, but you just don't realize it, because a degree isn't just the information you got. There's other things in there, but take action on the information you get. You read a book. Which principle in this book, just one, did you take to actually move the needle for you in life? Do you have a child in your life who loves to color? A niece, a nephew, a son, a daughter, a neighbor? Remember when we grew up, we did A for apple, B for banana, and so on? There's something new in town. It's going to change generations financially. It's called Money Magic, ABC. This is a financial coloring book. They get fun pictures to draw, to color in. But instead of A for apple, we got A for asset. We got B for budget. We got C for crowdfunding. This is going to, while they're enjoying themselves, teach them the financial terms that we didn't know growing up. The financial terms that some of us still don't know. Financial literacy is key and vital. And instead of learning A for apple, learning A for asset at such a young age, it's going to change their financial mindset into the future. They'll be able to start off ahead of the ball, right? Ahead of the game. So go ahead and get yourself a copy and give this gift. Give the gift of financial literacy to your children and the children in your life today. Go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. And remember, every small step forward counts, and momentum matters more than perfection does. Momentum matters more than perfection does. When you take action, you don't have to worry about it being perfect. Just take action. Move, take a step, do something. Take one step, you take the next step, and momentum builds up. Inertia is the hardest thing to break, staying still. So once you break it, then I talked about driving standard earlier. Gear one has the most power. Ironic, right? Because when you're in gear one, you're moving very slow. But gear one has to have the most power because you are at a standstill. It needs to push the most weight to get you moving. So it needs to have the most power. Gear six, a lot less power, right? Gear one has the most, and it kind of goes down gear two, gear three. The higher in gears you go, the less power they have. Because you might even be rolling backwards. For anybody who doesn't know standard, when you're in one on a hill, the car will roll once you get off the brake. And you have to get off the brake in order to move forward. So when you are rolling down that hill, gear one has to be able to stop the car from rolling and then move it forward, give it momentum. So yes, gear one is the most powerful gear. Gear one is your most powerful gear. Your gear one is taking that first step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And then once you do, switch into gear two. It's a little bit easier to keep moving, but you just got to keep moving. Don't stop. Let the momentum continue to build. Gear three, gear four, gear five, gear six, and you're moving, right? Keep it moving. Don't stop that momentum. Keep it going. Keep it building. There's an old saying, well, not really old, I guess, but I've heard this saying quite a few years ago. Done is perfect when perfect ain't done. Done is perfect when perfect is not done. So again, done is better than perfect. I'm a recovering perfectionist, so when we think about it, if I sit here and I just say, I'm not going to take action until this plan is perfectly laid out, I'm doing myself a disservice. I'm doing whoever this plan or strategy is for a disservice, because it could help somebody how it is now, but I'm holding on to it because it's not perfect in my eyes. What is perfect? Nothing is perfect. No one is perfect, right? And here's a newsflash for you. Perfect plans never made anybody wealthy. They never built wealth. Perfect plans. There was never any perfect plan. You take action and you stay persistent in your action. You adjust as you need to, but you stay persistent in your action. That is what builds wealth. That is what makes people successful in whichever right that you deem successful. But that is what moves the needle, right? Most successful people, they're not the smartest. So of course, they didn't have a perfect plan. They started from their garage. They started from their car sometimes. They started from nothing, a lot of them. But they built through consistent, persistent action. Not a perfect plan, because if you try to come up with a perfect plan, by the time you come up with that plan, you need to adjust the plan. So it's not going to be perfect, because that perfect plan might take you 10 years to make, 5 years to make, 2 years to create. By that time, things have changed. The industry has shifted. So it's not perfect because you need to adjust it now, and you're never going to start anything. It's perpetual. So these successful people who were not the smartest, they just moved. They were willing to move despite the fear, despite the doubts, despite the naysayers and the imperfections. And that's what we need to do, is move regardless. Because if you don't start, how do you know if you don't start, how do you know what people will like, right? If you have a product for the market, a service, if you don't start, you'll never help the people you're intended to help. And that's a shame, because what you have right now could help those people, but you're so afraid of starting it because of that self-doubt, because of maybe the naysayers in your life. Start the thing. Don't worry about all of this. Start the thing. I know we're talking about finances, but start. When it comes to building your financial abundance, take the step. Don't be so afraid of what everybody else is saying. Take the step. You know in your heart and your spirit and your mind it's the right thing to do. What are you waiting for? Create that budget. Stick to that budget. Not everybody's budget is the same, so don't worry about what others are saying about your budget in terms of, oh, you're really going to put that much towards investments? How are you going to live? Don't worry about that, right? You'll figure it out. Take the step, try it, stay consistent for a while, see how much of a difference it makes for you. So a quick formula for this is to learn, act, adjust, and repeat. Learn, act, adjust, and repeat. Learn, act, adjust, and then repeat. Notice that without that second step, the third and fourth step, they're not there. They don't count. A lot of us just learn and repeat. You're missing the two critical steps, which is to take action and to adjust. So we need to make sure we learn, take action, adjust, and repeat. Let me give you a couple of quick stories to emphasize how starting small makes such a big difference when you stick to it and you're consistent. Daymond John, a lot of us know him. For those of you in my generation, not the younger generation may not know. The older ones will know as well. But FUBU, he started FUBU at home with his mother, right? Stitching hats together. There was no website. There was no storefront. There was just selling hats. He didn't have a huge inventory, and just selling hats at events, local events and different shows maybe. And he was building demand one event at a time. All right. So the lesson with this one is focus on solving one problem and connecting with customers first, because that's all he was doing. Solving the problem, having hats, nice hats that you could wear, whatever the case is, FUBU, and connecting with the customers and building that relationship. And of course, FUBU was giant, back in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. And I'm sure there's probably still some people out there who are still getting FUBU, right? But nonetheless, you might know Daymond John from Shark Tank, right? From different events. He speaks at different events in the whole 9 yards. And FUBU, if I'm not mistaken, was his starting point. So build that demand, one customer, one event, one step at a time. This next real story, it's not really a story, but it's more of a report. And so I'm going to read it for you. Fidelity Investments, they say many 401k millionaires, and that's for the States. It's like our RSP type of thing, or pension. Many 401k millionaires weren't high earners. They just started investing small amounts in their 20s or 30s, contributed regularly, and didn't panic during downturns. We're in a downturn right now. Over 30 plus years, $50 or $100 monthly contributions grew into 6 and 7 figure portfolios. $50 a month, $100 a month, grew into 6 or 7 figure portfolios. The reason this happens is because of this thing called compound interest, which I mentioned in the book, I believe in this chapter 4. And of course, the interest they're gaining is another testament to this, because compound interest, yes, important, very important. It wouldn't have happened otherwise. However, even still, putting $50 to $100 a month away will build up over time. Don't do it in your savings account because you're losing money, but into an investment that's earning you a decent amount of return. Yes, it will add up. It will make sense, right? Now, I'm not saying put it into a 401k or into an RSP or pension. However, I am just saying the fact of putting money aside into a good vehicle over time will grow and build for you. Every little bit adds up, but it doesn't if you don't take action. So shorter episode for you today, but real quick to recap, Learning isn't enough. Action is what closes the gap between knowledge and success, because knowledge is cool. And I want to kind of put this to rest here. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is important, yes, without question, right? Learn as if you were to live forever, right? Mahatma Gandhi. Learn as if you were to live forever. However, take action on that information. Some of the information. You're not going to be able to take action on all of it, but take action on a portion of that information, and that will lead you to the success that you are looking for. Not what I deem successful or what the world deems successful, but the success that you're looking for. Take action on it. Progress beats perfection every single time. Take action so that you can then make progress and refine. Don't worry about being perfect, because if you worry about being perfect, guess what? You're not perfect, bro. Guess what, sweetheart? You're not perfect. I'm sorry to tell you. None of us are perfect. I am not perfect. I am far from perfect. I am a very flawed human being. We are all flawed. And that's one of the beautiful things about it, because once we really understand and grab hold of that thought to say, I'm not perfect, we can get out of our own heads and we can really start to take action despite not having a perfect plan or strategy. And we'll realize there is no perfect plan or strategy. And that's the only reason I tell you you're not perfect, not to hurt you or make you feel bad or talk down or bring you down. My whole point is to bring you up and lift you up, because once I realized, I'm not perfect. I realized, well, I knew that, but if I know that about myself, how do I think the plans or products or solutions I put out there will be perfect? It's kind of counterintuitive. It's not going to happen. I'm not perfect, so how can I make a perfect plan? It's not going to work. Instead, I just need to take action, take steps, put things out there, and adjust as I go, make progress by adjusting, right? Learn, act, adjust, and repeat. So focus on doing something small today, not just learning something new. I wrote a book for you, and it's called Wings of Abundance, your strategic guide to uplift and empower you to financial overflow. One thing I like to talk about is the financial map. There's 2 points on any map. One is where you are, and the next one is where you want to go. This book, this strategic guide, will help you to determine where you are and where you want to go, and will also help you to bridge the gap. We talk about money mindset. We talk about the application of all the information that you know about finances and all the information that's in this book for you. There's resources in the back of the book. There's bonus information in there. We talk about how to overcome debt, how to build wealth, generational wealth. There's so many different strategies in here that you can utilize for yourself to get you to where you want to be financially. So again, if this is something that sounds interesting to you or anybody you know, because it's written in a language that even teenagers could read it, go ahead and click that link in the description and get yourself a copy. So my challenge is for you to take one either financial or personal strategy that you've learned about, and today, take action on it. One thing that you've learned that you haven't taken action on yet, today, take action on it. That's my challenge to you. Don't worry about tomorrow. Do it today when you listen to this. Take action, implement that strategy, that solution, that technique, that tip, either personal or financial growth. Take action on it. And once you do that, I'd love to hear, we'd love to celebrate you and share that step that you've taken inside of the Financial Freedom Hub, or rather the Entrepreneur Freedom Hub, the Facebook group, right? So we can celebrate you, we can support you, and you can inspire others by sharing that. Drop it in the comments here if you're not part of the Facebook group. And if you are, great. Thank you for being here. If you're not, send us an invite, right? And I'll look forward to that, and I'll accept it, of course, because it'd be wonderful to have you in the community, because the more the merrier. We can celebrate each other, lift each other up, and have a sense of community, right? And tag me for accountability so I can take a look at it. If this episode was helpful for you and helps you to move the needle and move from just getting all that knowledge to actually taking action on that information, drop a like below, drop a comment below, join the Entrepreneur Freedom Hub, and comment in there. Share your story, right? Again, I want to know how this information is helping you, or if it is helping you, so that we can continue to create good episodes to help you to move the needle and give you more of what you're looking for. All right. We appreciate you stopping by. Kadeem here, and I'll see you in the next one.